2. Hello, everyone. I am so excited about today's presentation. Now, I know y'all are used to me saying that, well, every week because I get to pick the speakers and the topics. And so I do get pretty excited about this, but I get so excited when one of my good friends gets to be a presenter on the webinar series. And Dr. Mancini is hands down one of my most favorite people in this profession, personally and professionally. Most genuine, uplifting, motivating people that I've ever encountered. And I met him so very early on when I came into chiropractic and really didn't know a whole lot and was pretty much just overwhelmed and intimidated by a lot. And I learned so much from him. He's just absolutely incredible. Helped me to really find my passion for this profession, helped me to find my why and where I fit in with this profession. And that's what I love so much about hearing him talk, having him here as a presenter, because there is so much life to be lived and so much that you can do for yourself, your family, your community, and he just does an incredible job of doing that. This is a man who really doesn't need an introduction whatsoever. If you are in the chiropractic profession, you have to be living under a rock if you don't know who Dr. Fab is. But he's been featured on Dr. Phil, The Doctors, Fox News, CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, Univision, Telemundo, and so many more. He is an author, a speaker, a media expert. He is the man. So now I'm going to be quiet, turn it over to him. Dr. Mancini, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Christy. You know, I get so excited when you call me and we get that invitation to be able to come and share. As you know, I live a very exciting life. Every single day is an adventure. And today I'm very excited because I'm going to be sharing with you some very personal things that I think will help you really recognize your potential in creating the life of your dreams. And the way, Christy, that this topic came about is I've been mentoring for the last almost 3 years a group of 20 of the most successful people that I know. And we get together 3 times a year, and I talk to them throughout the month. And I created this mentorship because I wanted to be able to share what I know. A dear friend of mine said to me one time, there is no way that we can grow unless we're sharing what we have already learned. Anytime that you feel that you've achieved a level of success, you need to share that with as many people as you know, so that way it helps you take yourself to the next level. And I've been putting myself in uncomfortable positions since I started this profession. As many of you know, I started as a young man, just like you know, with this dream and this incredible passion for chiropractic that I really didn't know where it came from. It was something that was, you know, most of us say that we're led into chiropractic because it doesn't make, Christy, chiropractic doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. You know, choosing chiropractic as a career definitely doesn't make sense a lot of time. I mean, I was studying to be a pre-med. I had already decided I was going to be a medical doctor, and I have been gearing myself towards that and applying to medical schools. And all of a sudden, a car accident, a medical doctor refers me to his chiropractor, and it changed my life. And that's where I want to remind you that what we do every single day changes lives, but we're not doing it to enough people. And I know, and I was just telling Christy, I know I've been in this profession for over 30 years, and I know challenges will always be there. But, you know, when you study our history, we've been challenged since the day we were born. You know, since Diddy Palmer was born, remember in those days, there were people questioning it. How can this adjustment really restore hearing? How can this adjustment be able to improve the immune system regarding an infection somebody was going through? How can this adjustment be able to allow somebody to alleviate themselves from chronic pain that they've been suffering for a long time? How can this adjustment be able to restore the health and the life of an individual? Well, guess what? It has done it again and again for over 120 years. We're about to celebrate 123 years, and I'm just super excited because I love this profession, and I realize that not all of us are living our dream. And I wanted to share with you, because I did this for this group that I mentor, I wanted to share with you the 5 most profound lessons that I've been able to discover. And it's a chapter in my new book that is not out yet, even though if you're not yet registered for the Florida Chiropractic Association event coming up in Orlando, please do so. This event is over 3,000 chiropractors. It is the largest chiropractic event right now in the world of chiropractic, and you have leadership, some of the best presenters on every topic you can imagine, but more importantly, your brothers and sisters, so you get to see really what this profession looks like. You also have the top vendors of this profession that are going to be sharing with you how are they supporting you so you can support your patients and your community. So please come and see us. And in this seminar, we're going to be able to have some preview copies of my new book that is being sold right now to the publisher. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I wrote this chapter, Christy, that I wanted it to be kind of like my legacy, the lessons that I've learned in over 35 years of personal development, the lessons that I've lived, the lessons that I've seen, some of the most influential people that I've been able to get to know lived every single day. And I want to share that with you. I call the book The Fab Life, How to Influence Others, Achieve Financial Growth, and Become the Best Version of Yourself. And I had the honor of sending this draft to Dr. Phil, and he went ahead and gave me the front quote for the book. And of course, in the back of the book, you have quotes from Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Harv Eker, Don Miguel Ruiz from the Four Agreements, John Gray, Lisa Nichols, you name it. The top people in the world have read this book, and you know what they say? It's the best work that I've done. You know, this is my 5th book that I've written, and I can't even write. I want you to know that writing a book is not a difficult process. You have to have a message that has a solution to others where they're struggling. And don't ever worry so much whether it's going to be perfect or not, because you have people that are editors that can take a concept and make sure that its centers is proper and it flows and all of that stuff. So this is my 5th book, and I want to share with you the 5 lessons that I've learned. I call it the Fab 5 Rules, and they're primarily in the areas of your time, your service, your work, your love, and of course, your health. You see, these 5 areas in life, I believe, are the most powerful areas that allow you to reach your potential. As a chiropractor, I want you to know that you were destined to live a potential that is higher than anyone else out there. If you're a chiropractic assistant and you're joining this call, I want you to know that you are one of the very few that get really see the transformations of people just by simply giving them a chiropractic adjustment. As a chiropractor, sometimes I feel we take for granted the fact that we can have such an influence in a human body. But I want you to know that when you free that nerve interference, that when you allow innate intelligence to really run that body the way it was designed to be run, anything can happen. Miracles can happen. I remember when I first wrote my first book, Chicken Soup for the Chiropractic Soul, we had over 6,000 stories from patients and they were all miracles. I mean, you name it, from people that couldn't walk and they could walk, people that couldn't see that they could see, people that couldn't hear and they could hear, people that were told they were going to die and they didn't die, people that had all kinds of chronic illnesses and they got better from it. I want you to know that this profession has helped just about every condition that we know of. And that is because the body was designed to heal itself. So my goal with this is to share these 5 rules with you and show you how you can apply them into your chiropractic life. I may talk a little bit about our personal life too, because I do believe that our business is an extension of our personal life. If you want to improve your business life, if you want to be able to serve more people, earn more money, be happier, you have to start with yourself, whether you're a chiropractor or a chiropractic assistant. So are you ready for this? Are you ready and open-minded? I want you to just take a deep breath for a moment. Whatever you're doing, make sure you get some paper and pen, because I'm going to give you some beautiful nuggets that will allow you to immediately implement this work. And I'm actually created some exercises for you that will give you a plan by the time we're done, something that you can immediately do to begin to change your life, to be able to create this life that you always thought was possible, but somehow you're finding yourself frustrated or maybe challenged that you're not there yet, whether it is, in a particular area of your life, such as finances, or maybe it's in an area of relationships and you don't seem to have that balance in your relationships, whether it's with your family, your significant other, or maybe even with your children. Or perhaps it is that you haven't really achieved the level of success professionally in your career that you expected. Or maybe it's your spiritual self, that you feel like you're not really connected with something bigger than yourself. So whatever the areas may be, I want you to know this. These rules that I've created, they're simply reminders. I am not creating something new, or I just put it into a context that you can apply them. So if you will listen, if you will write them down, you will have access to these webinars so you can listen to it multiple times and understand that ChiroHealth is here to bring you this type of information because they care about you. They're interested in making sure that you have the latest information to help you not only build your practice, but build yourself. And that's the reason that I'm here. I'm a big fan of what they have done for our profession. I'm a big fan of how they've allowed chiropractors to be able to run their practice where they are in compliance with the rules and regulations that we must be, and allow people to be able to afford chiropractic care in a way that is legal, in a way that won't get the doctor in trouble. So I'm a big fan. That's why I'm here. So let's get started, because I want to share this with you. And I was so excited last night, I could hardly sleep, because I know some of this information that I'm going to share with you will change your life. So let's go with the first rule. The first rule is regarding your time. I want you to know that our time is the most precious thing that we have. But the rule that I want to share with you goes like this. Live every day like if it's your last. Think about it for a minute. Live every day like if it's your last. I know my dear friend Eckhart Tolle wrote a book that is called The Power of Now. Many people in the past, like Brian Tracy, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, many of the greats of the past have always talked about the importance of time, making sure that we're utilizing our time appropriately. The one thing that we have identified in the people that succeed is the fact that they know how to prioritize their day. It's that simple. Prioritize your day. Being able to reflect upon what is working, what is not working. So this rule is all geared towards that aspect to help you make sure that you don't waste a second of today. Eckhart Tolle said in his book if you're not living this moment, you're not really living. So let me tell you how I learned this. When I was 16 years old, many of you know that we moved to the United States from Colombia, South America when I was 13. And we moved to Miami, Florida. My parents wanted us to have a better life, more choices than they had. We didn't speak the language, but they believed that this was the place that we will be able to reach a higher potential. And I want you to know it wasn't an easy transition. But the one thing that I can tell you is I really was struggling with the transition. I miss my friends. Imagine, at 13 years old, I have four brothers, myself, we're 5 boys. And I did not speak the language. I got to my high school, right? And guess what they told me? Oh, Fab, because you don't speak the language, we're going to go back 2 years of your education so that way you can understand what we're talking about. Can you imagine that? I was not very happy. So forward the clock, 3 years later, Christmas is coming around, and my parents asked us what we wanted for Christmas. And my brother Aldo, which is 2 years older than me, and I said, we want to go back to Colombia. We want to visit our friends and our family. And guess what? During Christmas Eve, we got our tickets, and we left the next day. We were so excited. We were going to spend a week in Colombia. So my aunt picked us up at the airport with her husband, my uncle, and our little cousins. They decided they wanted us to stay with them. So that way, you know, my cousins could spend some time with us. They had a beautiful house. We pulled over to the house from the airport, and we see a whole bunch of cars, and we're like, what is going on? And they were pretending they didn't know. And as we opened the door, the house was full of our friends, all of our friends from school, cousins, uncles, everybody you can imagine, food, music. I mean, it was honestly, if I can remember, it was the best night that I had ever had at 16 years old. We had so much fun. So we went to bed that night, and after a couple of hours of going to sleep, all of a sudden, I get awoken by the back of a gun hitting my head saying, where is the safe? And I noticed there was a few people in my room. I tried to scream, so what they did is they took my socks off and put them in my mouth. We were actually being robbed. I said, I don't know where the safe is. They took my socks off and they put them back in my mouth because I tried to yell. I tried to escape, and they flipped me over the bed, and they tied my hands and they tied my feet, and they kept hitting me. They asked me who was next door, and I said, my brother Aldo is in the next door. We just came in this evening. We don't know where the safe is. This was a new house that my uncle and my aunt had built, so we'd never been there. A couple of them left the room, and I hear my brother Aldo yell so loud. They come back to my room with their hands full of blood and saying, we killed your brother. You better tell us where the safe is. I thought it was the end of my life. At 16 years old, after having the best night of my life, I thought that was the end. And by some miracle, the neighbor must have heard the commotion, and they called the police. The police came, they fled, the robbers fled, the ambulance came. My brother was alive, but he had to have a few stitches in his head. I was all bruised, but I was okay. And I remember that night saying to myself, I can't believe at 16 years old, my life would have been over. I mean, think about it for a minute. I don't know if some of you have been close to dying because of an accident or something that happened, but I thought that was it for me. And I remember I made a promise to myself in the hospital, and that was this: live every day like if it's your last. I felt like I got a second chance. One of the core principles that I live by, one of the foundations for everything that I've been able to do in my life has been this principle, this rule. I go to bed at night, honestly, not expecting to wake up the next day. But if I wake up the next day, the first thing I do is I'm grateful for having another day. And I don't take it for granted. I don't take anyone or anything for granted, and that's the secret. Because most of us take our lives for granted. We take our loved ones for granted. We take our career for granted. We take our opportunity to impact people for granted. And we cannot afford to do that because time is very short. The other day, I heard that in life we have about 30,000 hours. So the clock is always ticking. What are you going to do with these 24 hours is the question. So I want to do a little exercise with you. And that is, if you think for a minute that you're waking up tomorrow and it's your last day, right? It's your last day. How would you wake up? Would you wake up early or would you wake up late? If you're sitting or if you're sleeping next to someone you love, right? If you're blessed to have someone with you in your life, would you wake up early enough to take time to kiss on them, to tell them how much you love them, to make love to them? Or would you rush out of bed like we typically do? If you have children, would you take time to make their favorite breakfast, wake them up gently, lovingly, tickling them? Or would you yell across the room, Johnny, you're going to be late for school. Hurry up. Would you go to work? Would you actually go to your practice and work? Or would you call in and say, you know what, it's my last day, I'm not going? And if you do go to work, how would you take care of those patients? If it was the last time you would see them, if you're the chiropractor, how would you give that adjustment? If it was the last time they would get an adjustment from you? If you're a CA, how would you take care of those patients? How would you take care of each other, right? Would you appreciate your CA more because of all that they've done? Or would you take him for granted like we always do? And CAs, would you take your doctor for granted, or would you tell them, why is it that you respect them so much? What is it that you love about your job so much? Why is it that you're appreciative of this opportunity? Who would you call? Who would you forgive? What would you want to do? This is your last day. And I want you to take a minute right now. And I know you'll be able to print out this presentation later, but I want you to write at least 3 things that you thought of. 3 things that if tomorrow was your last day, you are committing yourself to doing it. And you're going to start tomorrow. No more excuses. And I promise you, if you do this for 30 days, at least, 90 will be better, but at least for 30 days, your life will change forever. Because all of a sudden, you're taking advantage of every single moment, every single breath, every single person, every single opportunity that is in front of you. And that is really one of the best ways that you can create the Fab life that you've been wanting. I hope you're enjoying this because I really, honestly tell you that my intention for this webinar is to hopefully wake you up, is to remind you of maybe the things that you're not hearing often enough, is to let you know that you're not alone in this journey. You have a great support system. You know, take advantage of that and understand that this snapshot, right, this day, it's just one day. And tomorrow is another day. You get to start with a clean canvas. You get to create anything you want to create, but it's up to you to do it. The second rule is about service. Albert Einstein was asked the question, the smartest man that ever lived, what is the meaning of life? And without hesitation, he said, the greatest meaning of life is to be of service to others. There is no higher calling than to be of service to others. My mentor, Dr. James W. Parker, which I was so blessed to have him as a mentor, I never asked him to be my mentor. And one day, after 3.5 years, I got the guts to ask him, why, Dr. Parker, are you mentoring me? I was just a young student. And you know what he said? Because I see myself in you. And you know what he told me as we got to know each other very closely for so many years? He saw that I was hungry. He saw that I was interested in learning about chiropractic, in learning about our past. He saw that I was the first one to volunteer. Anytime anybody was asking for a volunteer for anything, I was the first one to raise my hand. I remember that I volunteered to actually give the tours for the prospective students coming in as a young student. And they had tour guides, that were admission recruiters. And I said, this is students, because we know what we go through every single day. Why don't you let me do that? And it was a huge success. And then I put an army of students to do all the tours. And still today, I still have people that came to me and say, Dr. Fab, it's amazing that you were the reason that I became a chiropractor. You gave me my tour of Parker. That's the reason I came to Parker. So the way Dr. Parker taught us this lesson in one of his Parker principles was, you must develop a compassion to serve that is greater than your compulsion to survive. Compassion to serve rather than compulsion to survive. You see, what happens is that over 90% of the people live in survival. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're living in relationships that are barely surviving, right? Whether it's with their children, with their significant others, with their parents. They're living with their social relationships that are very barely surviving. And I want you to know that when you're in survival, it's a compulsion. It's a compulsion because you're interested about your needs. You wake up every day thinking about, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to make X amount of money, I need to see so many patients, I need to be able to, and whatever list you have. But you're thinking about your needs. And the way that Dr. Parker explained this to me, and I got to test it in the world, is that when you live in service, it's always the opposite. It's not a compulsion, it's a compassion, it's a sensitivity towards the needs of others. It's where you become receptive. It's when you start to listen more than talking. It's when you start being aware of the environment around you instead of thinking that the world revolves around you. No, you start thinking about how can you contribute to others rather than what you can take from others. See, survival is about you get a new patient in your office and you already see them as a dollar sign. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a $2,500 case. That is so wrong. We must look at people genuinely with compassion. How can I help this person maximize their potential in their health so they can maximize their potential in their life with their significant others, at their work, at their church, synagogue, temple, and their community? Chiropractic is a vehicle that allows people to fulfill their lives because we help them reach their health potential, and that pretty much controls every area of their life. So I want to make sure that you understand that if you live with compassion to serve, you will never live in survival. Do you understand that? There is no survival when you're living service. So I have this little exercise for you. There was a scientist called Pareto that mathematically defined that 20% of everything that we do yields 80% of the results. 20% of what we do yields 80% of the results. So I want you to start thinking about what is the 20% that you do to service other people that yield the 80% of the income, the happiness, the joy, the abundance, everything you want out of life. And I want you to write that down for me in order to be able to do that. Because if you do that, it will make all the difference in the world. I want you to write down and reflect upon what it is that you're doing on a daily basis that yield 80% of the results that you want. Think about it for a minute. This is one of the greatest exercises that I've been able to find, because when you identify what it is that's working for you, what allows you to do, it allows you to delegate, discard the 80% that's distracting you, and it allows you to focus on what is working for you. The reason most people don't succeed is because they're doing the things that are not working for them, but they keep doing it again and again, expecting different results. And that's the definition of insanity. The next rule is you have to do what you love, but you must also find someone to pay you to do it. I know that for many years we have heard people say, you must do what you love. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Does that make sense? You'll never work a day in your life. Because when you love something, it doesn't feel like you're working. And you know what? Success is not easy. If it was easy, everybody will do it. Success is hard. But when you love it, you lose sense of time. You have this abundant joy. Your passion is soaring. You're attracting all these amazing, wonderful things into your life because love of your work, like Freud used to say, is essential for your happiness. The way that I learned this lesson is that my father wanted to be a professional soccer player. Well, his father had a great company and said, no, son, you're one of the oldest of 13 children. You must work with the company because I need you to help support your mother and your brothers and sisters. My father was devastated. So instead of being happy because of that great opportunity, he was miserable. He was making enough money, but then he started drinking and became an alcoholic. He started getting depressed. I want you to know that when I told my father that I was going to be a chiropractor, the first thing he said to me, son, all I want for you is that you choose what you love. And they asked me a lot of questions, my family, and I had the answers because I had done my research. I came into chiropractic because it's a choice. I wanted to be in the natural, holistic healthcare perspective. I didn't want to prescribe drugs to people. I didn't want to be the one performing the surgeries, even though that's initially what I wanted to be. When I discovered the natural world of chiropractic, I fell in love. I discovered my passion, and I hope that you did too. So the exercise that I have here is I want you to write at least 3 things that give you the opportunity to learn to love more what you do. What is it that about your regular routine every day, whether you're a chiropractor or a chiropractic assistant, that you really love? Because I'm going to tell you the secret about this. Whatever you focus on, guess what happens? You attract. If you attract on the things that you love, you're going to attract more of that joy, much more of that abundance. But if you end up at the end of the day and your sweetheart says, sweetie, how was your day today? And you think of that one patient out of 30 patients you saw that did not get the results or even blame you for feeling worse. If you think of that patient that did not want to pay on time, if you think of that insurance company that kept you on the phone for at least 2 hours of your time, right? If you think about a criticism that somebody gave about chiropractic not being scientific enough or not being a real healthcare profession, that's what you're going to attract. So I want you to really focus on at least the 3 things of how you can learn to love your job more, your role more. And then this is a good one. I want you to start writing down who can benefit from your work. Who can benefit from your work? Who in your community can benefit from chiropractic care? Who in your community can benefit from the services that you provide in your clinic? Who in your community, your family, your friends, the businesses around you, the Chamber of Commerce, all the clubs that meet on a weekly basis, who can benefit from chiropractic care? And begin to identify those people. Because, you know, if they can benefit, they'll be willing to pay for it. This is all an exchange. We have to be able to identify our market in order to attract that market to us. Most of us out there, we have a shotgun approach. Well, anybody can benefit about chiropractic care, and you're right. But when it comes to marketing, you have to be very specific about what it is that you're going after. Do you want to go for the sports world? Do you want to go for the corporate world? Do you want to go for the moms? Do you want to go for adults? Do you want to go for the children? Identify the market that you're most passionate about, who can really benefit from your care, and then you'll see how your practice will soar. But you must love your work, and you must find someone that will pay you to do it. The next one is what we all have spent our life promoting, and that is that we must prioritize physical, mental, and spiritual health. In my last book, The Power of Self-Healing, that got me into all the major talk shows, and I still lecture about 75 times a year, I brought a message to the world that health is multidimensional. That health was not only our physical symptoms, that health had a root cause that could be physical, emotional, or spiritual, but also that had a solution that could be physical, emotional, and spiritual. I wrote about the science behind all of that. I wrote about cases of people that were told they would never heal from their condition, and they were able to heal it. Most of them chiropractic patients. I want you to know that the World Health Organization said it best when they defined what is health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I want you to know that we must continue our mission to help people recognize that without health, there is nothing. But also make sure that we go back to the basic principles of D.D. Palmer, in which he mentioned that there were three main causes of these -Es, and that was trauma, toxicity, which is what we breathe, what we eat, all of the garbage that we put in our system that is not allowing us to live a proper life, but also our autosuggestion, our thoughts. Thoughts are very critical. The new science is teaching us that the average human being has over 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% of the thoughts that we have every day are the same thoughts we had the day before. And 80% of those thoughts are negative in nature. I want you to help your patients recognize that they have to think more positively. You have to think more positively. You have to start doing affirmations and changing those negative thoughts with positive statements and repeat them with emotion, and then sit there like it's already happening in your life so you can change those neural pathways in something that we call neuroplasticity, the new science of the brain. The fact that we chose health as a career, promotion of health, is the most honorable profession in the world. I want you to know that when we help people improve their health, we're helping them in the most important thing that they have. So the exercise I wanted to share with you is I want you to start with you. I want you to start with one physical thing that you can do right now to be healthier. Can you eat a little bit better? Can you cut down on the sugar that you drink or you eat every day? Can you start adding more vegetables into your diet? Can we go more organic rather than processed? Can we make sure that we make more smoothies in our day in order to have healthy stuff? Can we introduce the right nutrients that our cells desperately need to function instead of the junk that we feed ourselves that have no nutrients at all? Can we also exercise a little bit more? Can we make sure that we move our bodies? You know, I just finished working out, and I do that on a daily basis. It's one of the best regimens that I have. Can we make sure that we make a commitment that we're going to move our bodies? Can we also make sure that we get adjusted on a frequent basis? When I interview chiropractors, so many of us are not getting adjusted on a weekly basis. So how can we promote something that we're not willing to do ourselves? All I can tell you is that when you become a healthy human being, you have a greater chance of convincing and promoting the health that we're trying to promote through chiropractic care, because you are the best messenger of what we promote. You have to live it. Now, on the emotional component, we found 3 emotions that are the most healthiest that we can have. and that is forgiveness. Who can you forgive today that will help you release all that anxiety, resentment, worry, all that hate that you have inside your heart? Also, can we start being a little more grateful for what we have? This amazing profession, our leaders, our schools, our practice, the chiropractors in our area, instead of always criticizing them and speaking that negativity out there. Also, can we start loving ourselves a little bit more? Can we be a little bit more patient instead of beating ourselves up for the mistakes that we made? Instead, can we learn from them? And then spiritually, can we really have a clear purpose for what we want to accomplish in the world, in our lives? Can we spend more time with nature? Can we make sure that we meditate and pray more often, because science has already proven that when you do that, you become a healthier human being. I want you to know that when you start exercising all of these things on a daily basis, you become the healthy person you were meant to be. So I want you to write one thing that you can do physically, one thing that you can do emotionally, and one thing that you can do spiritually to begin to be the healthiest person. And the last one, which is my favorite, love yourself and others unconditionally. I want you to know that in 1987, I was attending a seminar, and the speaker was saying that we had to write a mission for our lives. They gave us a series of questions to ask ourselves. I wrote down probably about 3 hours of things, and we had to then condense it into one sentence. And my one sentence since 1987 was to learn to unconditionally love myself so I may unconditionally love others. I want you to know that unconditional love is the foundation for everything that you want in life, everything that you want, because unconditional love impacts one thing, your self-esteem. There is no way that you can attract more money into your life unless you love yourself enough to think you're worth it, right? If you can't manage $1,000 a month, what makes you think you can manage $100,000 a month? You have to start with what you have. You have to start loving yourself more every day. Louise Hay taught me many years ago that she woke up every morning and she would look at the mirror and say, "I love you, Louise," because she said it may be the only time she heard those words that day, that week, or even that month. So start loving yourself more instead of criticizing yourself in the mirror and always looking at that imperfection. You're losing your hair. You wish it was a different color. You wish you were taller. You wish you were thinner. Whatever your issue is, love yourself unconditionally for where you are right now. And if there's something you can change, then do something about it. But if you cannot change it, embrace it. Love it. You know, I have an accent. I've been in this country for over 35 years. And I love my accent because people recognize me. And it's not that I don't try to shake it off. It's just it won't go away. But you know what? As soon as you hear my voice, right, you can say to yourself, "That's Fab. I recognize him anywhere." Love your imperfections. Love anything that you feel that may not be appropriate for you. And that would allow you then to love other people. There's no way you can love unconditionally anyone unless you love yourself unconditionally. Unconditional love is like the way a puppy loves their owner. The way they say that you can make a dog do anything but wag its tail, right? Love does that. Or the way that you love a baby, a brand new baby, unconditionally. No matter what it does, you're not going to get upset at it. You're not going to yell at it. You're not going to punish them, right? You just love them. You laugh about it. You move on. That's the way we need to be with everyone in our lives. More unconditional. Not, "If you do this, I'll do that," or "What have you done for me lately, baby?" That's not love. That's conditional love. Love yourself unconditionally. Learn to love others unconditionally, and you'll see that everything you want in life will come your way. So I want you to write 3 things. 3 things right now that you feel you can love unconditionally more your family. Maybe your patients, right? Maybe instead of being so upset about those few patients that really push our buttons, why not love them all? I always told my staff, love the unlovable ones. They need it the most. Why? Because everybody else rejects them. And when you love them, they turn out to be the best patients you've ever had because they'll tell everybody about you because nobody gave them a time of day. I want you to know that I want you to also love your profession. Do something how you can love your profession more. Stop criticizing some more your brothers and sisters out there. Start loving them more. Start loving your leaders more, your schools more. Start loving everything we do in chiropractic instead of being the naysayer or the critic, but is never doing anything constructive. I want you to know, because I'm in the trenches for over 30 years, right, serving in so many leadership roles, I know how to appreciate how difficult it is out there. So I don't judge other leaders. I appreciate a leader. And no matter whether I agree or disagree with them, as long as they're moving our profession forward, I'm going to be there to support them. Why? Because we need all the leaders we can get. So I want you to love our profession a little more, love your community a little bit more, so that way you can invite them to come into care. Because when you have that love, nothing will stop you. As I told you earlier, this book I'm going to have available at the FCA. So if you come to the Infinity booth. I'll have a copy for you that they bought for you with my compliments and their compliments. But if you want a copy that is an e-copy that I can send to you, just text me. This is my actual cell number, 214-642-4911. That's my personal cell number. Text me and just give me your full name and also just put the word book, and I will be more than happy to send you an electronic copy of the book because I can't send you anything else because it's not sold yet. I only got a special permission to print some for the FCA, so if you come there, make sure you go by the booth early because they're going to be pretty much gone. We only have 150 copies, and they're expecting over 5,000 people. So make sure you're there early. I'll sign it for you. We'll take a picture together, and I'm able to say to you personally, thank you. Thank you for being in chiropractic. Thank you for being a chiropractor. Thank you for being a chiropractic assistant. And thank you for helping your community with chiropractic care. In my opinion, it's the greatest gift that you can give anyone, and I'm honored to be a chiropractor, and I'm honored to be in this journey with you. So thank you, Christy, for having me again, and I hope that these 5 rules will help shape your life and allow you to attract what I call the Fab Life, which is the life of your dreams.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mancini. If you have any questions, please submit them now, and we will take a few minutes to answer those for you. Just a reminder, this webinar was recorded, and it will be accessible for 1 full year. So if you are the doctor and your staff did not sit through this webinar today, make it the focus of your next staff meeting, because when your team is fulfilled on every level and they're just happy in their life and personally and professionally, you're going to have a much better patient experience for your patients, a much happier team, more teamwork. All of these things work hand in hand. When they're invested in having a full life personally, it will come back professionally and have such a huge impact on your practice. Next week, we will have Dr. Mark Santa here to talk about how to accelerate your practice with associates. Next week, like Dr. Mancini mentioned, is we have the FCA National Convention in Orlando, Florida, which is where I'm going to be, which is where he is going to be with his book. And so the following week, there will not be a webinar because I'm taking a couple of days off. When you have that many chiropractors, that many vendors, that many incredible speakers in one space for 4 days, it is very, very exciting. It can be a little bit exhausting afterward when we come back. So I'm taking a couple of days off, so we're going to skip a week on the webinar series and then pick back up with Dr. Tom Nasila on how to utilize an associate as part of your exit strategy. So you might notice a theme, right? Motivating your team, motivating yourself, and then building your practice with associates, and then using that as part of your retirement plan. Thinking about today and thinking about the future. That's really the focus of August. All of our webinars through the end of September are posted on our website at www.chirohealthusa.com/webinars. And Dr. Mancini, I don't see any questions for you, but I do want to tell you thank you so much for being here today. I know how incredibly busy your schedule is personally and professionally, and so I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate it when you're able, carve out an hour, a little more than an hour for me and all of our audience on the webinar series to present for us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Christy, and thank you for ChiroHealthUSA for feeding us every single week with some great information that allows us to be more effective in what we do every single day in practice. So God bless you. I love you. I love everyone out there that is listening. And just know that don't hesitate to ask for help if you need anything. You have my cell number. I'm more than happy to help in any way I can.
So everyone out there, the great news is y'all have 9 minutes before you get back to changing the lives of the patients in your practice and in your communities. So use it well. Take a few minutes. Take a deep breath. Finish your lunch before you get back out there. Again, if you haven't registered for next week or the following week where we're focusing on associates to build your practice and to help you into moving forward to retirement. And that doesn't mean like next year. That means over, just thinking ahead, whether that's 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, long-term goals. Maybe short-term goals, depending on who you are. But go ahead, register for those webinars. They're always super popular. We've been getting a lot of requests for that. If you are in Florida, in Orlando next week for the FCA National, which is Thursday through Sunday, be sure to stop by our booth number 523, and say hello. Make sure that you stop by at the Infinity booth and say hi to Dr. Mancini. You cannot miss it because it is right on as you're walking up to the expo area. If you've never been, this thing is like gigantic. This is the Super Bowl of chiropractic conventions. Infinity is one of the first booths that you walk up to because there's really only one way to get to the expo center and to get to the classes. They're right there on the corner as you're entering in. And they usually have a huge posters and displays with pictures of their speakers. So I'm going to have to post my picture of Dr. Mancini and Dr. Evan William and Dr. Jay Greenstein posing with their posters from last year or the year before. But you can't miss them. Take this opportunity to get a copy of Dr. Fab's new book. Again, like I said, I've had the great pleasure of knowing him for the first 8 years of my career. He helped me to find the courage to be able to speak in front of an audience so that I can do a webinar series, speak live and in person at events. And has just been an incredible friend. So meeting him in person is nothing like hearing him on a webinar. It will change your life. You will find a whole new motivation and excitement and fulfillment for being a part of chiropractic and getting back there and inspiring your team, inspiring your community, and helping your patients. So if you are there, he's going to be speaking on Thursday and Friday, and we want to see you. Stop by the Infinity booth, stop by the ChiroHealthUSA booth. We'd love to say hey, and we've got a couple of goodies for everyone if you stop by the booth. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Pat?
No, I just want to say, please test these rules. At least 30 days. If you can do 90, even better. And if you like an e-copy of the book, I'll send it to you so you can start implementing all of this wisdom that I put together. And you'll be the first ones to actually read it. So thank you again, Christy, for the opportunity. And thank you all for actually coming and taking time out of your busy day to be with us.
Thank you, everyone. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day and a fabulous week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.